Hey friends, welcome to Dishing on Divorce Next Chapter on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, Podcasts, and TV. I'm your host, Lisa Lisser, CEO and founder of LZO Coaching, a boutique coaching firm focused on divorce, relationships, and life transitions. I'm also a divorced mom of 3 now grown kids, and I've lived it. I survived and I thrived. And I also had some low moments as well. That's how divorce and life goes. Professionally, I'm a recovering lawyer, a current educator, a spiritual counselor, and a divorce coach who is committed to transforming the divorce experience for everyone involved. That's why I do what I do, to make it less painful and more cooperative for everyone. So today's guest I'm excited to introduce is attorney Lisa Mills, who is on the same page as I am when it comes to the divorce process. She has deep experience as a divorce attorney, mediator, and collaborative divorce practitioner with 27 years of professional experience. Lisa began as a traditional divorce litigation attorney, but recognized over 20 years ago that mediation was a more effective option. In 2003, Lisa trained in divorce mediation and began assisting clients with alternate dispute resolution, or ADR. And there's more. In 2007, Lisa became a trained collaborative divorce practitioner so she could offer clients a new non-adversarial approach to divorce. Collaborative divorce is an alternative dispute resolution process in which the divorcing participants commit to resolve their differences through negotiation without court intervention. Lisa's focus is always on diminishing the overwhelm while zealously representing her clients in both litigation and ADR contexts. Now, there's more about Lisa. She is a volunteer and has represented economically disadvantaged litigants pro bono for many years. She served on the Legal Aid Board of Directors since 2016. She volunteers at pro se divorce clinics, assisting with no-cost divorce, and she volunteered at the Legal Project, representing victims of domestic violence. So in 2014, Lisa was honored by the New York State Bar Association for her pro bono service. And in 2020, she received the Distinguished Service Award from the Legal Aid Society. And finally, if that's not enough, Lisa also serves as the town justice in the town of Kinderhook, New York, a position that she's held since 2010. So welcome, Lisa, to Dishing on Divorce Next Chapter.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to join you this afternoon.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. So to add a little bit more flavor to our relationship and why I've invited Lisa here today, Lisa and I met at the New York State Council of Divorce Mediators conference that was in Saratoga Springs, New York, just about a month ago. And we immediately connected and gravitated toward each other. And I want people to understand just who you are and what your story is. So how did you get to do this work? Because we are in concert, and I want my audience to hear what it is about your story that sort of brought us there.
Oh my goodness. I think you have pretty much given my entire story away, Lisa. But I grew up in a very rural community in Delaware County, New York, where there's probably more cows than people. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I have always wanted to help people. And so I decided at that point to become a divorce attorney. So upon graduating from law school, I started practicing traditional divorce litigation, just as every other person who wants to grow up to be a divorce attorney does, right? But it didn't take very long for me to figure out that our adversarial system is probably not the best way for people to get divorced. There's so much collateral damage. It costs so much money. It takes so much time. The kids are often collateral damage. And so that's the point that I discovered mediation. There's got to be a better way. And in fact, there is. It's divorce mediation. And as you said, I have been on the divorce mediation track since 2003. And as part of being a divorce mediator, I'm always striving to improve my skills and to network with people who are in a similar position as I. And that's how you and I met, obviously, at the last conference for divorce mediation, where both of us are honing our skills, trying to give our clients the best possible experience in mediation that we can. And we are both, which you didn't say, divorce coaches as well.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's also part of why we gravitated to one another. I think people who are practicing divorce mediation are a special kind of person, right? We are there to assist our folks, our clients, in one of the most stressful times of their lives. And being a divorce coach or a divorce mediator, it's sort of like our contribution to helping out the people who are seeking assistance.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the thing that really struck me about your story is you are a woman who is constantly learning and honing and refining. And, you know, many of us women do the same thing. Like our lives are constant growth and learning. And it's hard when you're going through the divorce process to see yourself in that zone because you feel stuck, you feel like you're on defense, you feel like maybe you're on offense, and or you have to fight because that's what the system tells us we're supposed to do. And it's hard to take a breath and say, wait, I'm a learner. Let me learn about this process first. But maybe our stories about how we each had a journey of learning in this field, but in our lives, can be also a model for other people going through the same experience. So, so that's where I sort of like look at you again and say, look, you've had a very deep and thick experience in the legal world. And, you say that you grew up in a way, all those people who grew up wanting to be divorce attorneys, but I'm sure there's more to that story as well. And with the experience, like I probably grew up wanting to be a divorce coach, but I didn't know there was such a thing as a divorce coach. And that I only became aware of that after I went through my divorce experience, after I got a master's in Jewish education, and then after I practiced for a while, because I never even heard about divorce coaching. So how does your journey, you think, feed into your work?
Well, my journey is long. I decided to be an attorney at a time I was young and I had two small children. And I was a single mom, and I lived in Delaware County, and obviously there's no law schools in Delaware County. And having two small children that I didn't want to displace, I traveled to be a divorce attorney. So I drove from my home in Delaware County to law school every day, which is a 4.5-hour trip. I did it every day to attend law school. So I bring that same kind of commitment to what I do in life. I wanted to be a divorce attorney, and I was willing to take great strides to accomplish my goal. I want to be a great divorce litigator, and I have taken great strides to accomplish my goal. I want to be a great divorce mediator, and I have taken great strides, and I keep myself up on the latest information in order to do that. So that's part of what I guess makes me who I am. It is part of that journey that I have been on.
So that is so amazing. I didn't realize that you drove 2 hours and 15 minutes in each direction to get to law school when you had little ones at home. Now, first of all, just doing that in general shows commitment. And second of all, knowing that your babies were at home, there adds so much of another level. But the fact is that that's astounding commit. Like no one can express how impressive that is, and how it shows what you care about. Like you had a goal and you did everything in your power to achieve it. And that's incredible. Being someone who went to law school and lived 2 blocks away from the school, it was hard enough to get to class. So like what you had to do is remarkable. So, more power to you and your clients who are so well served by that commitment. So okay, so that's the beginning of your journey. And that is sort of defining your whole being in adding all these different skills. What I'm wondering is, what did you see in litigated divorce that made you turn? I mean, I know you still litigate because people need litigators. People need someone to fight for them.
Sure.
But what sort of shifted you to say there's got to be a better way?
Well, in traditional divorce litigation, there are many disadvantages that that come into play. Divorce litigation is very costly. It's very time consuming. It's very stressful. It's rough on kids. And becoming a divorce mediator kind of alleviated some of the strain on families. And some people aren't able to even afford divorce litigation, right? Mediation is so much of a more cost-effective process. And so it was kind of, it's been kind of a long journey as I still practice traditional litigation. But certainly there are many more benefits to mediation than divorce litigation.
So I completely hear you. What the statistics show is that when people reach agreement in mediation, they're less likely to break those agreements, and they're less likely to find themselves in court post-divorce. Because the world of post-divorce litigation is enormous. I will share that in my own case, we didn't have post-divorce litigation. Our divorce took what felt like a really long time. It was almost 3 years, which was really challenging. I thought it would never end. But then we were done. I mean, with the fighting in public part. But I have another friend who said, oh, her divorce was so fast, it was done in 12 months, but they were fighting for the next 4 years. And so which do you want to define your life? And that's sort of where I see you coming at it. Like you're helping people recognize that the divorce is actually a measure of me and how I want to show up in the world. So how do you sort of frame that when you're in the mediation room with 2 clients who are at their throats part of their relationship? I'll call it their relationship. What tools do you have that sort of help them settle a little bit?
So as you said, the research says that people who go through mediation are more able to discuss and settle issues that come up in the future. This is one of the major benefits of mediation versus litigation, right? Because we as mediators provide an environment for our clients to talk. We delve into the issues. We talk about them. We air the conflict, and we work through it. And in working through the conflict in the mediation, then our clients are better able in the future to deal with new conflicts that come up. Right? Because people that have kids, they're going to have to attend graduations and weddings and all of those things. And your kids don't want on their special day to have to worry about how close mom and dad are sitting to one another.
Yeah.
Right? And so after mediation, couples are able to just move forward and move forward in a parallel manner so that their kids are getting the benefit of mom and dad having resolved all of their conflicts and being able to deal with anything that comes up in the future. That's one of the major benefits of mediation over litigation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, maybe they don't resolve all of their conflicts, but they've decided that they're going to show up a different way. And
Yeah.
one of the tools that I work with is a co-parenting, a post-divorce co-parenting program called BEH2O. And we teach people that the relationship you had before didn't work. So we're going to put that on a shelf. And now you're in a different phase of life. So you're in a different business. So co-parenting business is about raising children and safeguarding their childhoods. So the fight piece that was part of the old relationship, we need to find a way to release that and redesign your operating system. So that sounds like what you're describing with many of your clients. Do I
Yeah,
have that?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in choosing mediation over litigation, in litigation, if there is a conflict over custody or the parenting schedule, that child is getting assigned an attorney and they're getting dragged into the divorce process. Whereas in mediation, that doesn't happen. The kids can stay out, they can be insulated from the conflict that may be happening at the mediation session, the conflict that's going to be resolved without the kids being brought in. So that's another advantage of mediation over litigation.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So we're about halfway through. So we're going to take a quick 30-second break. But afterwards, I'd love to hear more about what is collaborative divorce and how that works. Okay. Thanks, Lisa. We'll see you after the break. And we're back with Lisa Mills, attorney, litigator, mediator, and collaborative divorce professional and divorce coach. So when we left before the break, I sort of gave a little prequel. Let's talk about collaborative divorce. So how does collaborative divorce differ from mediation or straight up litigation?
So collaborative divorce is also alternative dispute resolution, the same as mediation. And the major difference between collaborative divorce and litigation is that you stay out of the courtroom with collaborative divorce. Collaborative divorce resembles mediation, except that with mediation, it's typically the parties and a neutral third party, myself as the mediator. And then you can have attorneys or not have attorneys. You can have other professionals that may be required to assist with the process. But with collaborative divorce, you're represented by an attorney, which means at the negotiation table, it's the husband, his attorney, the wife and her attorney, or the wife and her attorney, husband, whatever the situation is, you're represented by an attorney. So it's a more supportive process. And some people need the extra support. And some people prefer to just go it alone in mediation. It really is a personal preference. But if you choose to go with collaborative divorce, you have an attorney with you at all times. In mediation, I always tell people that they should get legal advice from an attorney. And some people choose to, and some people don't. That's completely up to them. But collaborative divorce has all of the benefits of mediation to greater or lesser extents. It's way more cost effective than traditional litigation. It's way quicker than traditional litigation. It's much less stressful than traditional litigation. You're not walking into a courtroom, you're walking into an office. The people who engage in collaborative divorce are able to work out their conflicts in the future, the same as with mediation. People who are involved in mediation and collaborative divorce are more able to work out conflicts in the future. You come up with customized solutions, right? You're not relying upon a judge who doesn't know as much about your family as you do, obviously, to come up with a parenting plan and schedules and things that are going to determine how your family is shaped for a good long time. I think the biggest difference between collaborative divorce and mediation, though, is that you're more supported because you have an attorney with you full time. But both of
Yeah, no. So my question is there also, what I understand is there also often is a divorce coach that's part of that process. And is there also like the third party neutral that's in the space, or is that not part of the collaborative?
So the beautiful thing about collaborative is you set up your collaborative case in the manner that you feel like you need. There are coaches that are involved, and sometimes both of the parties each have an individual coach. Sometimes both of the parties utilize one coach. There are neutral third parties, sometimes a mediator comes in and acts as a neutral third party. Sometimes there are folks that come in to do business valuations or discuss budgeting, so a financial expert, all kinds of people who come into the collaborative process as needed. And the same with mediation. If there are other allied professionals that need to come in, if we need assistance, then we'll also get those folks involved in mediation. But it's in litigation, sometimes the other attorney wants to have things like valuations and, and those things are simply court ordered, whereas in alternative dispute resolution, they're talked about and agreed upon.
Right. So what you're really highlighting is that alternate dispute resolution, or ADR, you have more control of the process. And I share that with my clients all the time, that if you want a stranger to decide the rest of your life for you, then litigation is for you. But if you control, if you want to be able to have a voice in your future, your soon to be ex's future, and your children's future, then mediation or collab is the way to go. So,
absolutely. Yeah, you're definitely going to get a more tailored to your situation arrangement, right? If you're going into litigation, the judge knows as much about you as the attorney representing you gives him or her, right?
yeah.
And that attorney may not know enough in order to get you the kind of agreement that you need. Like maybe there's a PTA meeting that happens once a month on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
You're able to structure your parenting plan so that you're going to the PTA meeting and your spouse, that's during their time.
Yeah.
Simple things like that.
Yeah. But simple things are the things that make up your life. And
Sure.
people don't realize that you can go into great detail when you're structuring your agreement in mediation. It may be a different way than a court would as well. So again, there's such a creative opportunity in mediation, and you have a give and take in a different way. And what I'm finding with some of my clients, they want mediation, but they feel like they will be backed into a corner and their spouse will still like argue too strong and they won't be able to fight back, or the mediator is a former judge and so what he says goes, what she says goes. So how would you respond to those clients who have those kinds of fears about mediation?
So my job as the mediator is to act as a neutral third party and to facilitate an agreement. And I draw on my experience as a litigator to discuss all of the options and to assist folks in determining their own agreement, as opposed to this is what will happen if you put your agreement in the hands of the court, right? In terms of how long it will take and the cost involved and having to go to court and the confidentiality that you have in mediation that you won't have in court. And my job is just to facilitate and to help folks reach an agreement. And it works very well.
So what would you say are sticking points for people? Where does it get stuck, and how do you help move people through that?
You know, everybody is different. A lot of times custody is an issue, or how you divide up the pensions, or who's going to stay in the marital residence, right? And so my job as the mediator is to assist people and to really dive deep into what is going on, right? So how can we come to some compromise that allows everybody, each party, to come to an agreement that they can both support, right?
Yes.
So nobody's going to get everything that they want to get in a divorce. That is a given, right? But I counsel people to think about what's really important to them and what's less important to them, and to think about how they can compromise to come up with an agreement that they can both support.
Yeah. No, I love that, because some people will say, you've done well in mediation if it hurts you both. Now, I don't like that description, although it's very common. But my vision and the mediators that I work with and refer people to, they believe that each person should come out feeling like they've won something, which is a little bit different. They should feel positive about the agreement as a platform to launch the rest of their lives. And that's what I see as the goal of mediators who are in sync with what it means to be a mediator.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that I do in mediation is I encourage people to make a budget as this is the situation now and this is the situation after mediation, so that I can ensure that the person who's going through mediation really knows what they've agreed to and that they are prepared for the next thing in their life, right? So that they can go forward in the most positive way and start a new life and be in the best financial and social economic position as possible, given the circumstances. So I think that that's really important. And sometimes it's kind of glossed over, like, let's just split everything 50-50 and let's, move on. But it's really important that everybody knows exactly where they're going, what the next phase in their life is going to bring.
Right. So those are like big conversations to have in a mediation space.
Sure.
But they're conversations you may never have had before in your whole life. Like you may never had to do that kind of planning because you thought that life would just happen to you and you would move along in that way. But divorce is that pivotal moment where all of a sudden you have to make decisions that maybe you didn't have to make before. So that's where the emotions come in. So what do you do when the room becomes a little heated, a little hot, and the emotions are flying this way and that way? How do you help calm down that situation?
It's really common. Divorce is one of the most stressful things that somebody is going to go through in their life. And, you don't always bring your best self to the table when you're going through a divorce. And I completely get that. As someone who has been on this, this road for such a long time, and I have been through divorce myself, right? So I understand that the people going through it are scared and stressed. And I think that my job as a mediator is to take people as they come, right? And some people are mad. This is
Yeah.
just part of the process. And so you are welcome to sit at my table and be mad. Be mad as hell if you want to. Be sad, cry, whatever it is. I take people the way that they are, the way that they come to this process, because it's real and it's raw. And I think that part of my job is to just help people navigate it. Whatever you need to say is pretty much going to be okay at my table, so long as everybody is safe. Sometimes people just need to get some things off their chest, and then they're ready to move on and to negotiate. And it's just part of the process.
It is. But I love how you um, acknowledged and accepted and welcomed your clients as they are, where they are, and when they are. All of those things. Like, people show up in different states. Mediation doesn't happen all in one day. So they could come in one day one way and the next time a different way. But
Sure.
you receive them, and you're not like, this is the way you have to be. So no one is directing the clients on their emotions. You're just acknowledging them, and that's really powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it goes a long way in sort of moderating the space, not just mediating the space, but helping the space become a safe space,
Yeah.
because you're receiving them as they are and you accept it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think it just goes with the territory, and creating a safe space is really important to me, because it's so different than going into a courtroom in litigation,
Yeah.
right? There is no safe space. Number one, it's not confidential, right? Anybody can walk in at any time and they can hear anything that the other attorney decides they're going to say.
Yeah.
And that is just something that certainly does not create a safe space, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's my job to create a safe space, and to the extent possible, I strive to do that.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end of our time. But what I also want to know from you is, how does your coach training impact your mediation? Like,
Oh,
have you seen a shift in how you operate since then?
yeah, sure. Um, yeah. Well, I mean, as you know, with the coach training, it's a very intense process, and it's really interesting. And when I trained to be a coach, um, it really kind of drilled down on what folks are going through and how you can assist them. And much of it was kind of intuitive, but much of it is not. And I think that being trained as a divorce coach has certainly made me a better mediator, because I am able to, when conflict comes up, I'm better able to see it for what it is,
Yeah.
which I think is really something that coach training helped, is to really know what's going on and to give you some really effective, powerful tools to help people recognize what's going on, to
Yeah.
process it, and to move through it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, because the coach training is essentially leadership development, and it's teaching you how to help the clients become leaders of their lives,
Sure.
and not let the emotions of divorce take over in a way that prevents them from keeping their eye on the future. And that's what mediation is about.
Yes, for sure.
So thank you so much, Lisa, for coming today and having this really empowering conversation. Tell my audience, how can they find you? I know you're in New York State, so share that, but also your mediations, I imagine, are probably anywhere. So let us know.
Yes, I am based in Kinderhook, New York, but I do mediation not only in person, but I do mediation virtually. And so I have mediation clients all over the state. You can reach me at my website. It's lisamillslaw.com. That's lisamillslaw.com. You can email me at lisa@lisamillslaw.com, or you can call me at 518-618-4451. I look forward to assisting folks with mediation going forward.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing your vision of how divorce can be better, and for sharing your expertise in helping people get there. For all of my audience, you can find me, as always, at lisa@lzlcoaching.com, or just go to my website, lzlcoaching.com, and you can set up a 30-minute complimentary consult. That's it for today's episode of Dishing on Divorce Next Chapter. Looking forward to see you again in 2 weeks. And thank you again, Lisa Mills.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.